In most places, Peppa Pig is just a cartoon for little kids, but in China, she became something very different, and not in a good way. It started in 2018, when a group of people known for breaking rules and causing trouble began showing off tattoos of Peppa. These weren't just silly fans, they were part of a rebellious subculture, using Peppa's face as a symbol of their lifestyle. Online videos showed them flashing their tattoos and behaving badly. It was a strange mix, Peppa Pig and chaos, but it caught on fast. Authorities worried that kids might start connecting Peppa with this wild crowd, thinking she stood for something other than muddy puddles and bedtime stories. So instead of editing an episode or two, they pulled the entire show. For a while, Peppa was completely wiped from Chinese video platforms. But that wasn't the end of her story. There are multiple other stories that got banned. Almost. 1. Too friendly with spiders. In the episode, Peppa and George pretend to have a tea party with their dollhouse, pouring imaginary tea and enjoying their little setup. But things take a weird turn when George heads off to get some pretend water. That's when he comes across something unexpected, a massive spider crawling across the floor. Instead of being scared, George picks up the spider with his bare hands and walks it right back into the room. Peppa screams the moment she sees it. Daddy Pig isn't much help either. He jumps back, clearly terrified. But when Mummy Pig comes in, she explains that spiders aren't dangerous and there's nothing to be afraid of. But that message didn't go over well in Australia. The country is home to some of the most dangerous spiders in the world. Spiders that can bite, poison, and even kill. Authorities were concerned the episode might send the wrong message to kids. They didn't want children thinking it was safe to pick up any spider they found crawling around their home, so they pulled the episode entirely. It never aired. Things only got worse with a second episode, called Spiderweb. In this one, the pig family discovers spiderwebs all over the house. While Mummy Pig wants to clean them up, Daddy Pig insists spiders are useful because they eat flies. That's when their old spider friend, Mrs. Skinnylegs, shows up again, this time bigger and bolder. Instead of panicking, Daddy Pig gently scoops up the spider and carries it outside, acting like it's just another friendly neighbor. Peppa even starts singing about a spider climbing up a spout, completely unbothered by the creature. To most viewers, the scene is light and playful, but to Australian parents and teachers, it felt dangerous. So while the rest of the world got to enjoy Peppa's spider adventures, Australian kids were kept far away. And honestly, with spiders like theirs, that might have been the safest choice. 2. Penny's Picture. In one episode of Peppa Pig, a simple classroom activity turned into something much bigger behind the scenes. The day starts with Madame Gazelle asking everyone to draw a picture of their family. The kids grab their crayons and start sketching with excitement. Pictures of moms, dads, siblings, and even pets begin to fill the room with color. When it's Penny Polar Bear's turn to share, she walks to the front of the class, holding her drawing with a proud smile. Her picture shows something a little different. It's a happy scene of Penny standing between her two moms. She explains to the class that she lives with them and they both love her very much. But in countries like Russia and Italy, that one scene became a problem. Authorities there believed the topic of same-gender parents was too complex for young children. In some places, the scene was removed. In others, the entire episode was skipped. 3. The safety gear that was missing. At first glance, the Peppa Pig episode Bicycles looks like another cheerful adventure. Peppa, George, and their friends head outside with their bikes, ready for a fun ride around the neighborhood. It's all good until they start racing down one of the show's famously steep hills, because there's one huge detail missing. Not a single child is wearing a helmet. After all, these were little kids riding full speed downhill with no protection. As soon as the episode aired, countries around the world raised concerns. Governments and parents alike called for the show to fix the scene, arguing that it sent the wrong message about bike safety. The episode was edited to show helmets on every child, and almost every country aired the updated version. Brazil held out a little longer, airing the original cut, but even they eventually made the switch, and it wasn't the only time safety rules slipped through. In another early episode, called Polly Parrot, Peppa and George are shown riding in a car with their parents, but eagle-eyed viewers noticed something strange. The kids weren't clearly wearing seatbelts. That tiny detail sparked another wave of feedback. Officials in multiple countries asked the show to always show kids buckled up in moving cars. The creators didn't argue. From that point on, Peppa and George were always drawn safely strapped in whenever they were in a vehicle. 4. Too wild for the backyard. In most episodes, Peppa Pig's adventures are cute, simple, and safe. But in the long grass, things felt a little too real, especially for Australia. The episode starts with Peppa and George stepping outside, only to find their entire backyard swallowed by tall grass. It's overgrown, messy, and perfect for a game of hide and seek. At least, that's what they think. They start laughing, running, and disappearing into the thick green jungle without a care in the world. They have no shoes and no adults to supervise. And if you think, they might have no clue what could be hiding in there. For many kids watching around the world, it just looked like innocent fun. But for Australian viewers, it rang alarm bells. In a country where tall grass can hide venomous snakes, spiders, and all sorts of dangerous animals, letting kids wander into it unsupervised isn't just careless. It's risky. There's also the real danger of tripping into hidden holes or getting bitten by bugs that aren't exactly friendly. Australia pulled the episode completely and never let it make it to TV. 5. Too rude for TV. What was meant to be a quiet visit to Grandpa and Granny Pig's house ended up causing a stir. Not because of anything wild, but because of one single word. In the episode, Grandpa Pig's chickens, Peppa and George are spending the night with their grandparents. Everything is peaceful until Grandpa decides to give them a tour of his garden. He proudly shows off his vegetable patch, only to find that all his lettuce has been eaten. At first, he's just confused, but when he sees a group of birds fluttering around his crops, his patience runs out. Frustrated, Grandpa Pig calls one of them a stupid bird. It's a quick reaction. Just a grumpy old man annoyed about his ruined garden. In most countries, the moment passed without much thought, but in the United States, it raised a red flag. Broadcasters worried that young viewers might pick up the word and repeat it in school or at home. Even though it was said in frustration, stupid was considered too harsh for a children's show. So, before the episode could air across US networks, that one line had to be changed. Instead of stupid, Grandpa Pig now calls the bird silly, a softer word that felt more appropriate for young ears. The scene itself stayed the same, but that small edit shows just how closely every line in Peppa Pig is watched. One word was all it took for Grandpa's garden meltdown to nearly go too far. 6th, playground chaos and a woolly mix-up. What started as a fun day at the playground turned into one of Peppa Pig's most edited episodes. In the playground, Peppa and her friends are let loose in the park, ready to enjoy all the classic equipment. Slides, swings, and even a giant tire. But the way they use them, not exactly what you'd call safe. Peppa ends up jammed inside the tire, George goes flying from the swing, and instead of sliding down normally, the kids leap off the top and land right on Daddy Pig's belly, like it's some kind of trampoline. It's loud, it's wild, and it's full of giggles, but safety experts in different countries weren't amused. They feared younger viewers might try to copy the chaos, thinking it was all part of normal playground fun. The solution? Major edits. Several countries requested that the playground scenes be toned down, and in the UK, extra adult characters were added in the background to keep an eye on things. Switzerland went a step further. Since toddlers aren't allowed in playgrounds without an adult there, the episode didn't even make it to air. But that wasn't the only moment in Peppa's world that got a closer look. In another episode, the kids head to a gym class with Grandpa Rabbit. Before starting, Madame Gazelle reminds everyone to change into gym clothes. Most of the class listens, except Pedro Pony, who shows up in his normal clothes. He stands out, but it's Susie Sheep who caused the real mix-up. Her gym outfit is the same bright white as her wool, making it look like she skipped the uniform entirely. The kids in the scene don't notice anything odd, but adults watching at home definitely do. In some countries, that visual confusion was enough for networks to either adjust the scene or leave it out altogether. These little changes might seem strange, but they sure don't take away from the magic of Peppa Pig. Have you ever noticed something different in the show? Tell us in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more surprises. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.